Alright, here we go. So, well, I'm streaming. Good morning. Yeah. Sorry I'm a little late, so hopefully people are still going to watch. I'm going to be talking about networking and mapping and demonstrating several things today, hopefully. So hopefully many of you can join me. In fact, I'd like your help in constructing some of this stuff to try it out. So I'll wait and see if I can get a few people online at least, so you can so we can crowdsource some data here first, and then try to do some things with that data. So I'll give you all a few minutes to get signed on, or whatever you need to do to get it loaded up. Usually get about 10 to 15 people on this stream, so I'll wait and let a few of you get online, see how that goes. It's a nice day, I guess, a nice cloudy spring morning. The sun is supposed to be coming out soon, and I can kind of see it starting to peek through, but it feels pretty gray still, but it's green and colorful. I've got a red bud right out the window that's starting to, it's got the pink flowers, but it's starting to turn green. The leaves are starting to come out. I've got a yellow thing right out here. I don't know what it is. It looks kind of like a jasmine, but I don't think it's jasmine. It's yellow. We always notice that it smells like jelly beans. There's a few others in our neighborhood too, and they all bloomed before ours. This one just now bloomed out yesterday, and it's very, very fragrant, like almost too much, overpowering. And of course, all these flowers blooming means all my allergies are also responding to that. So, that's how it is this time of year, I guess. That's all right. We can't really help that. Okay, got 4 viewers on. That's good. Good to see you all. Good morning, whoever you are. So what we're going to be doing is, I'll go ahead and start explaining this so you can work on it, and then if people keep coming in, then I can continue explaining it. We need to build some data that we can map, that we can put on a map, and then start to understand it geographically. So we're going to start off with the mapping module, and there's mapping and networking that I think I'm going to cover today, and they go together pretty well, or they have very similar tools that we can use. The first tool that we're going to use, or that I'm going to use, is something called Palladio, and this is the beginning point of Palladio. It just asks you to input your data. So we need some data first. We could use their data, but I think it's better to construct our own just to understand it. So here's a thought. So this is a Google editable spreadsheet. I'll give you the link. I'll go ahead and give you the link. Then I'm going to invite you to add some data to it. But I will need your help, so hopefully I'll get a few more people than, or more than the 4 of you. Okay, so here's an editable spreadsheet I'd like your help with. And I'll explain it here. So we're gonna, I don't know if this is maybe too real or too soon for this kind of thing, but I don't know if you've had a hard time finding toilet paper at the store. We have. We're okay for a couple more weeks probably, but it's something that we're aware of and noticing. So I just thought it might be interesting, maybe even useful, to keep track of locations around Fredericksburg that might sell toilet paper. So let's just start doing this with some headers here, location, and yeah, really we could add more to it, I think, but let's just keep it very simple to begin with. What we'll do is add a store name, say Wise, and then we need a location. So to find locations, I think the easiest, I don't know if this is the easiest, but this is pretty quick once you figure out how to do it. You need to, you can use Google Maps. Of course, Google Maps can do, we're just replicating what Google Maps does already, but let's say, Wise is a grocery store, they carry toilet paper, right? So if you look, what we want is the latitude longitude of this location, because we're going to be putting all this into our own map. We're going to be trying to map every place that might have toilet paper. So if you zoom in on it in Google Maps, Notice what happens in the URL up here. This URL actually includes the latitude longitude that I'm centering my map view on. You can sometimes like get it to pop up with a place marker and a GPS coordinate, but I'm not really sure how to do that. So this works. So you just have to zoom in enough that you confirm that you're centering on this thing, and then you can add it in here. So this is just going to be not that the latitude longitude here. So I'm going to go right select and then Control C to copy that and Control V to put that there. So let's try to get as many of these as we can. I'm going to keep adding them myself, but you know there's plenty of potential places here, so I want to try to get as many as we can. I'm just going to kind of go down Route 17 here because CVS, sure, they probably have it. Mako spear guns, what is that? I guess they sell spear guns. So again, if you zoom in enough, you can be pretty confident that this is the location. Now notice there's this other thing here. Maddie, let's go with Fredericksburg just to keep it simple. I mean, I guess you can do where you, it doesn't matter really, but let's just kind of stick with Fredericksburg just to kind of keep it a little bit centered. But you notice how there's this other thing, this comma 20.5 Z. I think that's the zoom level because you notice that changes as I scroll in and out. But this is the latitude, longitude there. So let's just kind of keep it going. So this was a CVS. If we wanted to be really precise, we could give these numbers, right? Because each CVS store, I'm sure, has its own store number, whatever. Let's see. It's going down here. Wawa, sure. They probably have it. So again, got to zoom in enough or double click. You can also just double click on the location. It'll automatically center the map on that. So here's a Wawa. So, yep. Wawa. And you notice that these numbers are very similar, but they are different. I mean, they're similar looking because they're quite close to each other. At this point, I'm going down Route 17. Okay. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. We're looking for for possible. Well, we can hope. Well, we can hope that they do. We got some at Lidl actually last week, so I think it's just the luck of when it gets stocked. Okay, so probably not at O'Reilly. Oh yeah, but probably Lowe's. Sometimes Lowe's has toilet paper. Let's see. All right, so again, I'd really like your help adding these if you can get on, Google Maps. I mean, you can also go to these different companies' homepages probably, and then get their store locations from that. But we're trying to make something that's more general. Like basically, we're trying to understand. We're not going to be. Palladio won't give us enough options to really make this a toilet paper finding aid. It'll just help us see the distribution of possibility, and so we don't really need a whole lot of labels on these stores. Instead, we want to get just a general sense of where the places are that we might want to look. Let's see. Well, okay. So I'm still going out Route 17. Chick-fil-A. Yeah, Giant probably does. Wait, where am I? Is there a Giant out there? I guess so. This is not, I don't live in this area. I live the other direction. All right. Got 10 viewers. I know some of you can help me out here. There's an anonymous shrew and a ferret. So come on, shrew and ferret, give me some data. Let's see, Papa John's, nope. Yogurt powder? What is the yogurt powder? Okay, I don't know what these things are. Okay, so hopefully, by the way, the stream isn't getting weird. Sometimes graphics can actually, the map can actually take a lot of graphic processing power, so that's usually what tends to messed up my stream, so hopefully that's not causing it to glitch for you, but as far as I can tell, it's going okay still. The bitrate looks good on my manager thing. Okay, so let's get some more data here. Truck in America. Royal Farms gas station? Yeah, probably. The more we get, the more impressive this will be. Not impressive. Alright. So while I'm continuing to add things here and invite you to add things, sort of an announcement that the 11 o'clock section got last time, but was not available for you all. Megan McIntyre, who is the current Blue and Gray Press web editor, is looking for a successor because she's getting ready to graduate. So if you're interested in journalism and already have some experience or would like to get some more experience in managing a pretty large website, the Blue and Gray Press is looking for a web editor. It's a good experience. It's a good experience to get. It's a good resume item. It shows that you can not just work with WordPress, but actually manage a site with a lot of content. If you're interested, then let me know and I can put you in touch with Megan. Or I think she also put out an ad on she put a post on the Facebook group for the CDS Facebook group. So, if you're interested in that kind of thing, then definitely take advantage of this opportunity, right? I mean, it's a good opportunity. It's not a paid position, but it is something that is a good resume builder, much more impressive than, much more significant skill development than building your own domain. I mean, building your own domain is a good start, but this is something more, a bit more practical or a bit more kind of useful. So thank you for just adding the Express Food Mart. You had an extra comment there, so I just took that out. So let's try to get like 9 or 10 more of these, so we can make this again as useful as possible. I think we're just about out of places going down Route 17 for a while, so let's go the other way. Well, there's Target, yeah, of course. There's Target and CVS right there. So, yeah, let's keep going. Yeah, of course, Wegmans. I have not seen toilet paper at Wegmans for a while. It is ridiculous. I mean, I know that everyone's experiencing it, but it's just like, what the heck? Why? I mean, I understand why. It's just like, it's frustrating. Okay, so, Wawa. Another Wawa. Now you notice this will be the second Wawa that I've added here, and that's okay. Sure, I don't know if you're going to type something there, so I will not take your row, but we do need to make sure there aren't any blank rows. It's okay to have multiple stores, like the same name, as long as they have a different location. I think that'll be fine once we get it into Palladio. So while we're still adding here, I can tell you a little bit about Palladio. Palladio is a new to me tool. It's been around for a few years, I think, but I've never really used it before for any like major projects anyway. I've played around with it a bit, and it's pretty good. It does a lot of things very quickly that would otherwise be kind of complicated or time-consuming to do with other tools that I have used more. It has a couple of disadvantages, I think, but I think like with anything, you have to sort of weigh those pros and cons and then decide which of those things are most important for your project. So the kind of project you can do with a map, of course, is if you're interested in locations, like where things are, or if you're interested in movements, like something that moves or some people that move or something like that. That's the kind of thing that a map is good for. Family Dollar, yeah, of course. Okay, great. So this is probably good enough just to demonstrate it, although of course the more the better. I mean, at this level, this won't be particularly illustrative, but it should demonstrate how Palladio works, and that's really the main point here. So I'm gonna, and if you have one you haven't added yet, then go ahead and do that because it'll take me a minute to get into Palladio. So this is Palladio, I'm going to demonstrate it. I'll show you the link here in case you want to try this at the same time as me. Okay, so now I have some data. I'm going to try and plot it in Palladio. And here's Palladio. So it asks you to actually just paste in your spreadsheet data. So we're going to create a new project. You can actually link to it, I think, but pasting it in works. So I'm just going to select all this, Control C, or I guess copy, right-click copy if that'll work. Sometimes that doesn't work, and paste it in here. Okay, yeah, that works. So you can see it's structured data, like it's tab separated data, but that should be okay. And then you can add multiple tables. I haven't actually experimented with that function yet, but this should work. Okay, so this is it. So one of the things that you'll find inconvenient, I think, about Palladio is actually that you're not actually saving this into their website. You're running all this in your browser on your computer. And so when you're done, you'll get an export, a JSON object or a data object. It's a text file that you can save on your computer and then upload back to Palladio if you want to work on it again. So there's no kind of hosted thing that you can send people a link to. And that is, I think, a pretty significant disadvantage, but it's still, I mean, for the kinds of projects you might do for this, that's probably still fine. But let me show you how to actually do some things with it, and then you can decide if it's worth that, overcoming that inconvenience. Let's just say possible toilet paper locations. Okay. And this is just naming the table. A table is just a data structure in this case. So we have the data here, and then these tabs up here give you different things you can do with this data. So we can look at it as a table, which it already is a table. Yeah, but we can rearrange it and understand different facets of it if we wanted to. But we don't need to get that far into it. We just want to do a map. So this is a map, and we have to do a couple things to it. You build the layers of the map first, and this was kind of confusing to me when I tried it this morning, but I did eventually figure out that this is, there is already this, like what we're seeing here, this map is a layer, like it calls it land, and so you can hide that if you want, but that's, we're trying to understand distribution, so let's keep that there. Now we need to add a new layer, and we've already loaded the data from that spreadsheet, which I copied and pasted in here. So I'm just going to say, give this another name. This is we only have one type of data here, but you can do multiple types at once, as you'll see hopefully with the next example. So we need to tell this layer where to connect, where to get its information from. So we have a field called location, or it was a column over here. We have this here. Oh, and big lots, thanks for adding big lots. So yeah, so that's it. I mean, we just need to add that there, and then location. So the other thing here, the tooltip label, I couldn't figure out much to do with this, so I'm going to try giving it store and see if that does what I think it does. Like, my hope is that it would hover, like give you a hover, like tooltip usually means you hover over something and you see a pop-up that explains what it is. So let's see if that happens. I don't know if that will. And let's make these, let's just give this a color. Make it purple, sure. And then add layer, and you see those, they popped up way over here in our area, so of course we're going to need to zoom into our area to see where they are. And yeah, okay, pretty good, right? So that's it, right? This doesn't show us any other, this is just the terrain. So it might be more useful if we add, not that, let's see, if we add, make this the streets, let's add a streets layer. Yeah, there you go. So now you can see the actual street view of, the street area of where we are. You can actually turn them on and off. So if you just wanted streets, I think we can, yeah, so if you just wanted streets, that's there. But I think the streets plus the terrain is pretty useful, or the land rather. So yeah, you can see that these are possible locations where you might find toilet paper. So you can imagine a journey going down Route 17, connecting the dots between all those places, right? Now this is, again, not very illustrative. What I think would be useful at some level is if we were to get this a comprehensive map of all the possible locations in, say, the state of Virginia, we would see clumps around the different population centers, and then we would also see areas where there's really just a desert, where there's just not a lot of options for people to go to look for toilet paper. So I think certainly parts of King George would be, and Caroline would be pretty empty. So that would be something that, as a kind of analysis, would be a useful or critical kind of analysis to show you that there's this gap here, that this is something that people from those areas are going to have to come into, wherever we live to try to look for toilet paper. Same for groceries, of course, too, but toilet paper is kind of a proxy for groceries in this analysis. Okay, so this is a way to quickly plot all those kinds of things. Again, I think the disadvantage of Palladio is that if you're done with this, I can't send you a link to this map I just made. All I can do is I can download it as JSON data, and I'll show you what that looks like. Yeah, I mean, you can't see it, but it's just well, I'll show you what it looks like. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, it just downloads this data. Like this is this is what it looks like, and this is obviously not super human readable. You could, I suppose, edit this manually if you wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's structured data. It's JSON. It's structured. If you delete a single character, then the whole thing is broken. Like it won't work anymore. But it does work. And so what you can do with this is, let's say, close this tab. If you came back to Palladio later, let's see. Let me get the link here. If you came back to Palladio later, what you could do is you can, instead of pasting in your spreadsheet, you could load the existing project. And we haven't done a ton with this yet, but so this is my JSON data. But it still might be useful to come back to it, right? I mean, it's something that you can see it still has those brief customizations I did. So yeah, so that's one way to use Palladio. There is another way you can use Palladio, which I think might be more interesting or relevant to us. This will be another crowdsourced kind of thing, and so now we've got 12 viewers on, so hopefully this will work. Let me put this one in here. Let's make another spreadsheet. Let me make a new spreadsheet. And this one, I'm going to ask for your contribution again, but I want to be careful about how I ask this. So where are we now? So this is this is a live stream. This is going on the internet. I'm going to be posting it on YouTube later. I'm interested in kind of understanding where we all are now, like where we ended up. So we all used to be in Fredericksburg, but now we are in various other places. Probably I'm in Fredericksburg still, but not on campus anymore. But at one point, it seems like thousands of years ago, we were all together in the HCC instead of looking at each other or you looking at me over the internet. So let's my daughters are making faces at me. Let's try to get a map of that. Now, I don't think you want to actually put your real information in here, like your actual name and location. So what I'm suggesting is a pseudonym, so make up a name for yourself just because each of these rows do need to be separate and distinct. And then also, you can pick a just general GPS, a general latitude, longitude for the general area where you are. You don't need to actually zoom into your house or something like that. So I'm going to add a couple of columns here. So the same issue is, go away. the same thing is, they think they're hilarious. Okay, so you can do the same thing to find out where you are roughly, right? Okay, so I'm going to just add Professor Willow. I'll just make this up for myself. So the location then, I'll just go ahead and figure out the actual location of the HCC, and that's where we were. And we're going to try to get a sense of where we are now. And if we can get a few of these, this would be great. Again, pseudonym, I recommend a pseudonym, and generalize where you are. But this is, that corner of the HCC right there. That's where we used to be. And there's our latitude, longitude. That's what we're interested in for Palladio. So I'm going to copy this. That's going to be the location then column for everybody. And location now, I guess I will show you roughly where I live and then use that. the main thing I wanted to show you is that within Palladio we can map not just points, but we can also map movement. So let's see, where am I? Oh yeah, so I live roughly in this area. Oh, you can see home labeled on here. Thanks, Google. That's my home. But yeah. So anyway, I was not trying to be that. I was trying not to reveal that, but okay. This is where I am now, roughly. I mean, this is a rough thing. So let's get a few of these. Again, pseudonym. And if nobody wants to do this, I guess I can add. Oh, I need to share this. You can't do this yet. Then at least just make something up so that we can demonstrate demonstrate how Palladio works. Okay. Please add some pseudonymous location data. Okay, yeah, so there you go. So please add some things if you can, and we will get a few of those into Palladio and kind of see how, I'm interested in seeing how widely distributed we are now. Again, don't use your real name. If you're not sure what to put there, just put a number. Like it literally doesn't matter. The point is just to have a different name for each row, and find the location the same way. So yeah, I see a number of you on there. So thank you. I think even if we get 5 or 6, that would be great. That should be enough to show us how this works. There you go. Yeah, we can tidy it up then a little bit. The location then, if you want, Frederick Florence, nice, okay. Yeah, you can copy and paste it down from the location then, which is the HCC. And I'll go ahead and label that. You can copy it down, or I can once you're done. Looks like we got 5 anonymous animals on here. Disease? Oh, okay. There you go, there's Sammy D. Eagle. Go ahead and add this down here. Because it's all the same, and so what I think this will let us do is see, like, yeah, spreading out. Looks like some of you are pretty far. I mean, you're actually different, like 33, 38, 39. Okay, is there someone else working still? If you're starting to come up with a name for a whole day, there you go. All right, I think that's probably good. Let me delete these empty rows. If we can get more, oops, name here, that works, yeah. I don't know what just happened, but I saw a long URL there for a second. Just put you just need the GPS, and then this is the same value, so you just need those latitude, longitude. So, oops, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, whoever name here is, if you are looking for it, it's in the URL. You got to look for this part here. That's the number. It's probably 30 something and 70 something. So that's close. Whoever name here is, it should be 2 numbers though. It should be like a 30 something and then a comma, and it doesn't need to be a link, but that's okay. It's okay if it is. So I guess that's anonymous dinosaur. I know you don't know who you are. It's funny how like it gives you a name for me to see your name, but it doesn't actually tell you which one you are. Like that's always kind of awkward about that. Oh yeah, we got another one. Great. Let's just yeah, thank you. And then I'm not sure what's going on with anonymous dinosaur, but I can give you a fake. There you go. I can give you a fake. I don't actually remember. I guess it's latitude. I can give you a fake latitude number if you don't know. Just to keep the data. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this. I think there's some people still. Oh, is that dragon? Is that dinosaur? Okay, I'll let dragon finish. I can also add these after we get that added. Okay, let me start over again at Palladio here with a new one. And I'm going to take this and then I can, there you go. Yeah, I think I can clean it up from there. I clean it up in the paste here, so a couple of things. I'm just going to delete the empty row here. And there was one of these, yeah, you need to have a comma there. Let me make sure there's a comma there. It's like a space. I don't know how it's going to feel about that. Okay, we don't need the 14 part of that. Okay, I think this will work. Let's try it. And let's see where we are. What was that? Oh, where are we now? Where? Okay, so let's try it out. So on the map, let's go here. We've got the same tiles. Let's just kind of figure out where we ended up. So this is, you can see there's two different map types we can do. We can do points or we can do point to point, and we are interested in point to point here. So our, where we went, I'll just call it, we went from location then, source, that's our source place, and then our target place is location now. And our tooltip is, I guess, pseudonym. And let's just keep it, gray. And then let's add the layers. So, okay, wow, so somebody's quite far away. Great. Zooming. Yeah, so there we are. We've spread out a lot, as you can see, but we're still together in this other way that we have to be together. So that's really interesting. So let me add the streets because that makes it, or let's add satellite just to see what that looks like. You can see, that's actually hard to see, so I don't like that one. But let's put the streets back in at least. So yeah, that's pretty good. So we can see that actually somebody is way out there on the West Coast. So I'm glad you're able to join us from so far away. And many of you are in. Someone's in Baltimore, someone's down south, right? So that's you know, that's a good spread. The more we can add to this, of course, the more we'd be able to see that. But that's pretty interesting. Actually, the street view does make it sort of hard to see. We're just more interested in spreadedness and kind of where we ended up. So yeah, distribution is the kind of thing that a map is really good at showing. So that's what I think this has shown us pretty nicely in this case. Okay, so I don't know if I have time. I guess I did want to show you another tool called Kumu. So that's I think a pretty good introduction to Palladio. Now, if you want to work with Palladio, the nice thing about it is that it's, as you saw, hopefully pretty easy to get your data into here. You don't have to worry too much about structuring it ahead of time. If you wanted to save it, the tricky thing with this one is how far apart they are. One way to do it is simply to take a screenshot of it, or you can click this button will automatically center it on your points, and you can take that screenshot. And this one, that's kind of hard to, you know, all you're seeing mainly is that someone doesn't let me, I don't know, the tooltips don't seem to work, but whoever that is, you're way out there. You can export the whole thing as an SVG graphic if you want. That's another way to do it. You can also do a graph. I guess I should show you this. A graph lets you do something similar, but this is not actually like showing you where. These are just sort of connecting these as concepts. So you can see that all of these points were connected to this single point. So not a very interesting network graph. But this is the kind of thing that Kumu can also do, and Kumu can do it in a way that's much richer and lets you customize quite a lot. Things like this, actually this happens automatically here, where you can have the number of connections will change how big of a dot that you get. So let me show you Kumu. Kumu can be graphically intensive, like it might take a lot of processing from my computer, so my stream might hang a bit. I hope not. I'm not gonna. I have one Kumu project that is enormous, and I'm pretty sure if I load that would probably crash the stream. So I'm not going to show you that one, but I'll show you a couple of other. I'll show you a pretty basic one. So how am I not signed in? Oh, I am signed in. Okay, good. So this is how Kumu works. Kumu, if you're trying to think about a network, a group of relationships, Kumu is a good way to build that. This is one I made this morning. This is not actually, this is just I meant to type my daughter's name, but I misspelled it. So I do not have a daughter named Cecil. But this is Kumu. If you're trying to understand something and trying to record your observations as you figure it out, Kumu is pretty good for that. When I have a live, like a face-to-face class, usually what I'll do is have a group of students working at a table talk to each other and understand and try to figure out ways they might be connected that they don't realize. So they might talk about what clubs they're in or other classes they're in or roommates they've had, and then usually end up being able to map a network of those relationships in a way that reveals more connections than they expected. So in this kind of view, a circle is an element, and then the line is a connection. And so those are the key units in a Kumu map. Elements and connections. Elements are dots or circles or squares. You can make them squares. And connections are the lines between those. And so in this view, I've got two elements. I've got myself and then my daughter. You could also add elements for, let's say we were both part of the fishing club. Then the fishing club, is there a fishing club? There probably is. The fishing club would be another thing. And then let's say there's the video game club. This is just kind of me mimicking the kind of thing I might do in class or have you do. Let's say that, so I am in the fishing club. So I would add a connection between myself and the fishing club. And Cecily is also in, nope, not that. Nope. There we go. Cecily is also, yeah, we should get tab complete on these. What I'm doing, I'm showing you this to kind of show you that the interface for adding these things is a little fidgety. Like you have to get it just right, or else it'll accidentally create extra things. So I am in the video game club, but Cecily is not, so I'm connected there. Okay, so now that you can see how these things are connected. So that the fishing club is the thing that we have in common, even if we don't already have this connection. Let's say we didn't have this connection. We do have, the connection of both being in the fishing club. I mean, a very silly kind of example here, but you can see how it's pretty quick once you get used to it. It does take some getting used to. I would compare this. This is kind of similar to Prezi in some ways. I think if you've used Prezi, you might find some of the editing somewhat familiar. But it's, yeah, let me just show you. So you make a new project, and this is, the big difference with the Palladio is you create these projects on Kumu. They're stored on Kumu servers, and then you can send people links to them. You can make slideshows out of them. You can make all kinds of explorations of them. You can also perform really complex network analysis within Kumu. So if you have a network you've already built, then you can try to understand it and visualize those understandings within it. So this demo network is not nearly complicated enough to show you what kinds of things you can discover. I have one here. I don't know if this is something I've already done some analysis on because I honestly don't remember when I made this. But this is, hopefully you can see it okay, this is the map. I think I just put this together for my own curiosity, but there's a Choose Your Own Adventure book series. Hopefully you know Choose Your Own Adventures, but there's other spin-offs and stuff. But the basic idea of Choose Your Own Adventure books is like you turn to page 2 and then you read some things and it says, okay, do you want to go left? Turn to page 15. If you want to go down the mysterious hole, turn to page 17. And so what I tried to do in this case is map out one particular Choose Your Own Adventure story that I liked a lot as a kid and that I have still. And it's unusual because it actually has only one ending. Most Choose Your Own Adventure books kind of brag about, like on the cover, 88 possible endings or something like that, or 14 possible endings, whatever they are. And that's fun to try to discover all of them. But what was interesting about this one is that you had only one ending and you had to find the right path to it. Like you could find it just by flipping through, I guess it's page 100, as I discovered here. But like the path that you take to get there is very complicated. You have to remember certain things and you have to try different things. You keep going back to the same, you're basically exploring different parts of a planet trying to find your way off of the planet Tenopia. And so I thought it would be interesting to map the structure of that. And that's what I did here. I don't know if I completed it because it's a lot, but this is the spreadsheet that I used for this one. So Kumu lets you import data from a Google spreadsheet, and you can actually do it so that you edit it in the spreadsheet, and then it shows up in the Kumu thing. You can link them together. So you do that by importing, and I've already got this one linked, so I'm not going to relink it. But the idea is like you can build a spreadsheet like we did just for the Where Are We Now visualization, and then you can just send that URL to Kumu, and Kumu will import it and then work on it on its own. And then if you want to change things, then you can change them in here. Now the thing you have to be aware of is like the headers have to be what they are. So for a Google spreadsheet, you have to have a sheet called Elements and another sheet called Connections. And in the Elements, you have to have a label, a description, and I think type is optional, but you have to have at least a label and description. You can add other fields to these by adding columns, but you have to have at least one called label and one called description. This is different than Palladio, where Palladio you could call it whatever you wanted, and then you could tell Palladio what to do with it. Kumu needs these to be called this thing. And then for connections, it has to be from and to, and these are element names. Each of these elements is named after a page number, so it's kind of hard to read, I think. But you can see how what I did is I went from on page 1, the only option is to go to page 2. On page 2, the only option is to go to page 3. But on page 7, you can go to page 17 or 20 or 16. So I made those 3 connections. So from 7 to 17, 7 to 20, and 7 to 16 were all possible completions of that. So I was keeping track of a couple differences. Sometimes in there you have a map and you get different parts of the map depending on where you are, and also you get different versions of the map depending on what things you've done, which is pretty interesting. It's a very complex structure basically, all done on paper, right? Like that's what's so interesting to me about it. You have different conditionals too, where it's like you get to a certain page and it'll say something like, if you've already visited the bird people, then turn to page 96. But if this is your first time here, then read on and then go to page 12. So it builds in the kind of control structure that you would normally program if you were writing this as an interactive fiction game. So this is the Kumu map, and let's see. Let's do some. I think that I don't think it has. Actually, I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's try. Ooh, wizard. What does the wizard do? Oh, it looks like wizard is documentation. Table view, I think, just lets me view the spreadsheet. And then I think blocks lets me do the social network analysis stuff. So here you choose a metric. I don't know what all these mean, honestly, but it lets you discover the centers on here. You can kind of see these just by the ones that have the most connections, but it's showing you that in terms of connectedness, in terms of having the most things within a degree of connection to it, that page 7 is the most important page on here. So where is page 7? There it is. So page 7. So there's a lot of things coming out of page 7 and then coming back into page 7. So that's what that reveals. And you can see it's larger because I've customized this view to show that. There's a lot of little things in Kumu that you can do to make your data, your visualization look better. One thing you can do would make this one look better actually is, you can name these more elegantly than just the page number. You can also not that. You can also add images to each of those. So instead of it being the circle, it would be a picture, and that would be much nicer looking. They do have the one that I think is really interesting is that I've worked on is very, very large, and I'm afraid to do that. I think, is it this one? This might be it. This might crash the stream. Whoa, there it goes. Okay, so hopefully we're doing all right. I'm going to try not to do too much with this, but this one it's still loading. So what is this? This is an earlier. This is not the one I was thinking of, but I don't want to zoom in too much because that takes a lot of graphical processing. Well, maybe I can because I want to see what the heck this is. Oh, my images are broken. That's what's wrong. They should have images and they should be shapes within this, but it's not working. But anyway, this is a class. This was a class project, and what we did was we looked at intertextuality. So we found books that referenced each other and then mapped those together to make this massive chain of intertextuality. And it's quite large, but I don't know why the images aren't working. They are no longer hosted. So interesting. Yeah, I mean, I hosted these. I got hot link these from Wikipedia because I figured that would be pretty reliable, but maybe that's moved. Okay, well, this is an older map. I did this 3 years ago, so links like that do tend to stop working. Anyway, I don't have an interactive thing we can try with Kumu. I wanted to just give you a brief tour of it. But basically, if you're interested in understanding the connections between things, that's what Kumu can help you discover. And then the nice thing about Kumu is you can share it. You can send people a link, or you can embed a map inside of something else. And that's a way to share it that's similar to Timeline.js or StoryMap.js, all those other things that we've been trying out when we looked at digital journalism. So yeah, but I think that's a pretty good introduction to Kumu. Between these, I would probably recommend Kumu just because I know it better. I've used it a lot more than I've used Palladio, but as you saw with Palladio, it has the big thing that it has is the spatial layer, so you have actual maps on it, geographic maps. So if you're interested in doing geographic maps, I think Palladio is the way to go. Now, as far as a project you might choose, totally up to you, and that's sort of the fun and sort of the challenge of this module. You should now choose a module. I've given you a basic introduction to these all now. So you should choose one of these to focus on. So digital journalism, text analysis, cultural analytics, mapping, and network analysis. I'm just running around upstairs. They're stopping up like on the ceiling above me. What was I saying? Yeah, so that's the I've given you an introduction to all these now, so that's you should pick one. I've given you examples of the kinds of things you can do with these, but you should be creative and come up with your own ideas. Think of any kind of question that can be answered with a map, or explored or explained with a map, or with a network, or with a textual analysis kind of thing. And hopefully you'll find something interesting that you feel like spending a little time on. So I think on Friday, I'm wrapping this up obviously. I think on Friday what I might do is maybe host I know you all are probably zoomed out, but host like a Zoom session and have a chance to hear from you all, like what you're working on or interested in and questions you have. I'll probably set up something like that. I don't know if I want to use Zoom, but something where I can talk to you all. I did that a couple weeks ago, and I only had 2 people show up. I just kind of said, "Come, stop in if you want to talk," and I guess only 2 people did, which is fine. I was glad to talk to them, but I do want to hear from more of you if possible. So I'll send you an invitation and instructions for that on Friday, and hopefully we can have more of a conversation. Okay, great. So I'm going to wrap it up. If you have any quick questions, then get them in here. If you want me to answer them on the stream, otherwise, see you later, I guess. All right. The sun just came out. Nice. All right, well, I'm going to shut down the stream. I'll start this and do this again in a few minutes. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.